right, welcome to the No Greater Joy podcast, brought to you by the pastors here at Grace Baptist Church, because we want for our people what Jesus wants for his people, and that's to know greater joy. And we're convinced that there is no greater joy for our people, for God's people, than stepping into the areas of being a 24/7 alongside-er, 24/7 worshiper, and alongside-er, that's right, and a go person. I'm Pastor Steve Strong, lead pastor here. To my right, we got
Associate Pastor Andreas Bailey.
Across the table,
Ryan Atkins, serving in the Timothy position.
And a huge thank you once again, Dan Kraniak, producing this and just making it flat out awesome. This podcast, this episode, obviously we try to want to have as many guests as we can because everyone is used to hearing our voices. And I'm excited about having this next gentleman with us. Some of our people at Grace know who he is, but Dre, tell us, introduce who's here with us.
So this afternoon we have an awesome guest. Kara and myself have been able to have lunch with him, serve at his ministry, and so we have Johnny Fine this morning. So I'm really excited for us just to hear from him and get some encouragement from him and for him to challenge us.
He has the best name of every guest, any guest that we've had here.
Johnny Fine.
Johnny Fine.
No
That's
offense,
the
Brian
best
Gardner.
name in the world.
So,
No offense,
Brian or Thad.
Yeah. I know a lot of our teens have really enjoyed going down to City Life, which is a Youth for Christ Center downtown, and I know Dan has gone down a couple times to help out as well. So we're excited.
Awesome. Now, just looking at the website, you've been there since 2011?
Yeah, so we just passed our 5th year down on Trowbridge there.
Yep.
And we're just excited about how God has made that transition from not having a building 5 years ago to what God has allowed us to do with it as an instrument for kingdom building in that community.
So tell us about Johnny Fine.
Great. So
and who you are, where you came from, how you came to know Christ.
all right, well, I'll give you the condensed version because I like to talk, so we'll hopefully...
That's okay.
Right.
That's what a
do that too
podcast is
much.
about, talk.
So, well, first of all, thanks for letting me be here today and just being able to engage with you guys in the conversation, and hopefully encourage our listeners to what it means to kind of go and do the gospel,
Yes.
be the gospel in front of people as much as possible. So, a little bit about myself. I am a military brat of of a Marine named Gordon Fine, who...
That's why Dan Kraniak likes you.
Well, you know, those Marines and Navy guys, they come from the same boat. So,
I see what you did there.
so anyways, when he retired from the Marines, we was stationed in California and had a great business opportunity in Cleveland. So he just picked up the family, moved to Cleveland. I was about 5 or 6 years old. So it's about 1979, 1980, around then. And we moved right into Lakewood, which was one of those surrounding suburbs of Cleveland. And, you know, we were the modern day Brady Bunch family with, a few adopted kids that my dad and mom picked up along the way. And things were really good. And then, my dad had a PTSD episode that really put us in a downward spiral financially, emotionally. It wasn't something that was intentional. It's just something that happens. And so in the process of getting help and going through financial stress, we found ourselves living in some of the rougher parts of Cleveland in the early 80s. And through that process, my dad, was able to bounce back and find employment and do other things. But, the weight of brokenness that we were feeling from his PTSD incident, but just as a family as a whole, it was really hard. It was really one of those things where you kind of didn't know what it was, didn't know how to explain it, so you just didn't talk about it. You just kind of sucked it up and just kept moving. But as the years went by, it got a little bit better, and even though we've dealt with a lot of hardship in the process, we continued to grow and stay a tight-knit family. And my mom was one of those women, her name was Yolanda. She was one of those women that would, like, if you brought a kid home and said, hey, they need help, she'd be like, all right, let's make a bed for them and we'll take care of them, or take care of her. She was just one of those, shirt off, you want the shirt off my back? All right, you got it, So there was a lot of love in our family, but even though we're dealing with a lot of brokenness, and I think it was about when I turned about 13 years old, I started really realizing how broken my family was. And all through middle school, I had some really hard issues of fighting and just being angry, didn't know why. And it wasn't until I got to high school that I met this guy. So high school, Lincoln West High School, which is in the neighborhood in which we serve around the center in the Clark Fulton neighborhood.
Oh, that's cool.
It wasn't until I got to high school that I met this guy named Jeff Thompson, who was a volunteer coach at our football practices. And I'm like, so who is this guy? You try to fill everybody out. And, I was raised to never trust anybody. Everyone has an agenda. Everyone has something. And he was different. He just came in. The days that he was there, he was coaching, and Coach Salchek was like, all right, work with these guys on this, work with these guys on that. And me and my best friend, Kiro Taylor, who's a principal at Max Hayes High School right now, this day, he and I were at home one day, and he was like, hey, I'm about to go to the Campus Life Club. And I was like, Campus Life Club, what's that? And he said, Jeff, Coach Thompson? I was like, yeah. He was like, well, he's got this thing where teenagers can go and play basketball and hang out. Well, I don't play basketball. But he said there was going to be food and girls there, so I was like, let's do this.
All over
you know what I mean?
Yeah, there you go.
So, 14, 15 years old, freshman in high school, trying to make a name for yourself, trying to get known. And they're like, hey, there's girls and food over here, let's go. So, we went, and I didn't go hear about the gospel or do any of that stuff. And in the same time that I'm doing this and going to this Campus Life Club and engaging Coach Thompson, which is Jeff now, Jeff Thompson, which is my executive director at Greater Cleveland Youth for Christ today. But my dad was going through this spiritual renewal where he was really seeking out his faith with God. And everyone was like, oh, we've been here before. We went to Mormon churches as a kid. We went to Catholic churches. We've been to Pentecostal. We named it, and we just thought it was another fad for him just to kind of deal with his own brokenness and sin. But it wasn't. It was one of those things that was really taking heart in his walk and knowing what it is to know Jesus for the first time. And in that same process, I was being reached by Jeff and Steve Pouch and other leaders through our Campus Life Club. And about a year and a half goes by, and then we're back to the next spring, and I'm a sophomore. Yeah, sophomore. Going into my junior year, and there's this Kings Islands trip, and I'm like, all right, I like the old roller coasters, Kings Island, no big deal. I can't afford it, though. And so Steve Pouch, big burly country dude, like 6'2", just big guy. He always throwing guys around and stuff like that, real rough, but loving. He was like, come do some work at my house, and I'll pay your way. Not that I didn't know what he meant by that, so I went to his house, and he gives me a sledgehammer on one of the hottest summers. I think it was like 92 or something like that, 1992. And he was like, bust up the driveway, and I'm out there, and he's drinking a glass of water with a pitcher, and he said, man, you look thirsty. And, he's just, messing with us and stuff. So he paid my way to go, and me and a bunch of friends were able to go on scholarship. And what I loved is that they let us earn it, so it didn't take away any dignity or like a charity case. So we went, and the first night we get into our hotels, and we're there, and we come into this big conference room, and there's this comedian. They introduce him, and he's telling jokes, and I was pretty much a pretty good character at the time, and so I start heckling the comedian. And think about the sanctuary, the size of that, half the sanctuary laughing with me at the comedian.
Yeah.
And he's still being professional. And I didn't know that he was a minister. I didn't know that he was going to end up sharing the gospel. But halfway through his comedy line, I get, Steve, big dude, is like, get over here, So I'm a little scared to go out in the hallway, and he just, he gives me a little bit of a riot act. And I'm just kind of like, okay. So I felt bad because, he paid my way and, he didn't have to do that. And even though I was being a rough kid, I still was taught respect. So he sat me on the other side of the room, and so all the other side, my friends, people I didn't know, were like, "Get that side going," and I'm getting going. So
Did you miss your calling?
probably,
probably not. But
probably to be
that was a close second,
not a
right?
comedian, but probably a what do you call that? A comedic actor,
There you
maybe.
go.
There
Yeah,
you go.
yeah.
So I sit on the other side, and the guy wraps up his little comedy jokes, and I didn't really say any much. And then he starts talking, and he starts talking about, like how much God loved us, and this is what it means to know Jesus, and this, and then that's when I tell everybody I came face to face with the biggest but that I've ever seen in my life, and that is Romans 5:8, that but God demonstrated His love for us, that He died for us even though I was His enemy, right?
Yep.
And that's a life verse for me. So so I'm like, so when I tell people that, they think it's about the girl thing at first, and I'm like, no, this is about but God, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
No one else but God. And at the time, I was like, the things that we were caught up in, I couldn't see myself dying for a friend.
Yeah.
I couldn't see myself dying for my father, who I had anger for, or anyone else for that matter. But God demonstrated His love for us, and I'm like, wow. So I bowed my heart that night and accepted Christ for the first time. Well, for the first time that I felt like it was sincere, like I did it, not because someone brought me to church
Sure.
and I didn't want to make someone mad, or I was asking more for forgiveness than I was really having a relationship with God. And so, and I can explain it better now, but 16-year-old Johnny would be like, I said yes, I don't know what that means,
Yeah.
but you know what I mean? But that night, everything wrapped up. I, prayed, had tears and snot and all this other stuff going on. So that night we go back, and my friends kind of made fun of me a little bit, like, "Oh, you're gonna be all Jesus now," and and I just like, "Shut up, whatever." And then the next day we wake up, and they're like, "Let's do something, a big prank." And so I was being a dumb kid again, and threw my friend Lenny with no clothes out, made him run up and down the hallway, and called some friends and stuff, and said, "Hey, come out and laugh at him." So, but that's what happens when they put 5 kids in a room and
that's right.
no adult. Yeah. So
They should have known.
that's why we have adults in each room now. Learned a lot back in the early '90s. But anyways, I knew that I knew the Lord and I had a relationship with Him, but I didn't know what it was to serve Him.
Yeah.
And so after that trip and knowing what God was asking of me, it was overwhelming. I just didn't know where to get started. I can't be this, I can't be perfect. I'm not perfect. My life was definitely messy. So when I came back from the trip, it was easy to slip back into the mess. It was easy to slip back into those traps and snares that our kids have. But Jeff and Steve and other leaders would take time and read the Word with me and explain to me, the bridge analogy and really what it meant to know Christ for yourself, and that this is what your prayer did, and this is what this meant, and this is what it is to live it out for Him at your age. And you don't have to be, a Paul or Barnabas or Timothy, but you could just be Johnny, and He'll grow you in those levels as He sees you. So, so when that was in high school, and I say about a year or so later, my whole life, that it was just getting caught up back in the old lifestyle stuff. I kind of walked away from all that. And it wasn't until I think, my wife and I got married, and then we had a daughter on the way, and I felt God's conviction on me of like, are you going to be the same hypocrite that you were complaining about other people being with your kids?
Yeah.
And so my wife and I, one of my friends, Edgar Betancourt, his aunt was going to one of the churches in the neighborhood, and she invited us. And so we kind of reconciled ourselves. We knew we were believers, but we reconciled ourselves and start going and attending there. And then a few years later, we start going to Scranton Road Bible Church, where we're at today. And man, it's been 22 years that we've been at Scranton.
Wow.
But during this whole process, Pastor Joe, who's the pastor, well, he's at the senior pastor there now, Mark Pratt is, but when he was the senior pastor when I was a kid, he would always talk to me in the parking lot, like pre-Jesus, like pre-evangelism, pre-saying yes to him. He would always just, hey, how you doing? And we'd talk for 15, 20 minutes in the parking lot. He'd speak life into me and leave, and I didn't realize that. So that's where I'm at today as far as that little quick story.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
cool. Just with, we've been talking in other stuff, other episodes. I don't know if they're before this one or after. It doesn't matter. But just the intentionality of people, just having simple conversations.
Yep.
We've had others in here. It's this person was willing to ask me some tough questions, or was more than just, hey, how you doing? But have you thought about Jesus? Have you thought about spiritual things and ask questions along those lines? And it's you see the impact maybe that your senior pastor back then didn't know, but it set the stage for future. We just don't always recognize the weight of something in the moment.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
impact of
and
it.
I think it's the way someone asks the questions, right? And it's
Sure.
not just the questions,
Right.
but the fact that they do it in a non-condemning way,
Yes.
and more of a loving way. It's the, hey, how can I nurture you to a place that you see your position,
Yes.
and how much you need Jesus in that state right now,
Yep.
and worry about the rest later.
That's right.
Yeah.
Well,
So,
praise God for your salvation.
Yeah.
And where's your dad? Did he come to know Christ?
Yeah. So so I'll try not to cry on this one. So if you
Because
hear
I
me-
just think it's awesome. God in His plan is like working on Johnny Fine, and they're working on your dad
yeah.
in different times, in different ways. But at the same time, it's just kind of cool.
Yeah, so my dad did make a profession of faith when I was younger, but there was some evidence, but not really a lot. And so about a year and a half after we bought the City Life Center, we do this thing called the Thanksgiving, where it's Thanksgiving dinner for everybody who wants to come.
Yeah.
And skits. So there's like little funny skits, there's dancing, there's all kinds of stuff. So it's hilarious. So we had probably about 350 people in the building, and we're feeding them, and skits are going on and whatever. And I got the opportunity to share the gospel with everyone and just say, we do this to care and love you, but like it would be wrong if I didn't take this opportunity to be able to share the love of Christ with you, and like what it really means to know Him in His fullness and understanding His grace. And so I shared, and my dad was one of the two people. So one of our students, Joanna, and my dad came up and came over to the corner and got prayed to receive Christ. So
Praise
that was
God.
pretty
Wow.
cool.
It's really cool. It's fantastic.
So about a year later, he passed away.
Oh, sorry.
From cancer. So, anyways, it was just really cool to be able to have that.
You'll see him again. So,
An opportunity. But anyways, it was
yeah.
good. So,
Great.
thanks.
So tell, not sure how many of our people would be familiar with Youth for Christ in general.
Right.
My guess, probably most have heard about Youth for Christ. But can you tell us a little bit about Youth for Christ in general, and then the City Life Center?
Yeah.
Just what those ministries are.
Yeah. So Youth for Christ is an organization that reaches people everywhere, young people everywhere. Most people know Youth for Christ for their first full-time evangelist, Billy Graham. So Billy Graham started with Youth for Christ and would have these youth rallies, and people would come in the, I think it was 40s and 50s, and you would see, it was really geared towards young people young men and women that were coming from the war and wanting to reach them. But they realized that these young people were really getting a little older and already having kids, and eventually they're going to be on these campuses and of schools, and how do we continue to reach them? But so a lot of people associate Billy Graham with Youth for Christ and starting the crusades.
This guy over here is a huge Billy Graham guy.
I am.
So-
Yeah.
So we got started here in Cleveland. Youth for Christ got started here in Cleveland because one of our founding pastors, Pastor Dan Widlicka, at our Scranton Road Bible Church, him and his brother actually invited Billy Graham to start doing some of the outreaches here in Cleveland. And so when I used to talk to Pastor Dan, he said, "Oh, Billy." He just call him Billy. Like, "Hey, Billy,"
No big
he'd
deal.
tell me about their
Yeah.
conversations and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so Pastor Dan would tell me how they were praying for evangelists like myself and others to be in the Cleveland area and to be in the surrounding areas, and like that he's lived long enough. He was in his 90s when he passed away. I think it was 96. To see that come fruition. But so Billy Graham was one of our first-time outreach employees, but Youth for Christ is really about going to where the kids are at. So on a school campus, and you can see this also, and I don't mind sharing it because I love the work that they do as well. But like Young Life, really does come to some of the campuses and do work and outreach and stuff like that. So if you're familiar with that at all, there's some similarities there. But we also have other ministries that we do, like City Life, which is our urban ministry that focuses on urban communities and some of the things that urban youth are dealing with as far as educational poverty, financial poverty, relational poverty, moral and spiritual poverty, and what it really means to really get into those things and help them be a well-rounded adult, but also to be a lifelong follower of Jesus Christ. So in that, we have three pillars that we look at. We look at the community that they're serving in, that they're living in. We look at them as a leader, and then we look at their spiritual, moral life. You know what I mean? Like, how can they be a leader in their community? How can they grow up to be a well-rounded adult? And also, how can they become a lifelong follower of Jesus Christ? And City Life, which is all through Youth for Christ, is what we really want to do. And then we have another ministry that we do called Juvenile Justice Ministry, where we actually go to juvenile jails and we do Bible studies. We do outreach where we have guys like yourselves come and speak hope into their life. We also do financial classes. We also do all kinds of other things that we're working with them, because we know that it's sin that's entangled them and has got them where they're at. But that we know that God's not done with them. So when they come out, we want them to have a place to launch and be able to do that in a healthy way. And these kids are from urban communities, suburb communities, rural communities that are moved into these facilities that we get to reach. And then we have a thing
So this is
called
all part of the City Life Center or Youth for Christ in general?
Youth for Christ in general.
Okay.
Youth for Christ in general. And then we have also another ministry called Grace Haven, which is court-ordered young ladies and men, but mainly young ladies, who are caught in sex trafficking, that the court orders them a mentor or someone to work with them, and then we work with them in the greater Cleveland area up here in Northeast Ohio. It originated in Columbus, but we work with them here in this area. So those are a few things. We're trying to launch a parent life ministry, but at the City Life Center, we got all kinds of things going on. So
Yeah, you guys have a lot going on.
yeah. So our program coordinator is Jamie Lovett. Well, no, that's her maiden name. Sorry, Jamie Kennett. She's a former high school student that did an internship with me. That's from Willoughby, and then I recruited her to come on staff after she got done with college. But she's been doing amazing work in creating programs for our kids to learn healthy eating, gardening. We're going to be having camps, horseback riding camps, and all these other different things. And then Aaron Domer, who's on staff, is working with our councilwoman, Jasmine Santana, and her team to provide movie nights that are going to start June 18th will be the first one. But movie nights where the community can gather. And a lot of times in the urban communities what you find is that there's not really a place to gather. They're just so broken up into pockets where you can't be on these blocks or you can't be on that block. But we do have some common areas. And for us, the City Life Center is known as a safe zone. So it doesn't matter what community you're from. It doesn't matter what extracurricular club you're a part of. You can come to the City Life Center and be cared for and be loved on and be protected and know that there's we meet you where you're at and work through the rest. But, I have a great team of staff that's there, and Nick and Julio are two new guys on the team who are doing some amazing work, and we get to work with guys like Andreas. So we're just been loving it. So
What ages of kids do you have at the City Life Center?
yeah, so our main focus is 11 to 19 years old.
Okay.
But if you're 14 and mom's at work and you're watching your little brother who's 8, we're not going to be like, hey, you can't be here.
Yeah,
So
wait outside.
Yeah, it's not like, well, I can't come because
Yeah.
So we understand that, sometimes the older siblings are part of the caretakers. So what we do is make sure that we partner with churches like yourselves to provide certain child things that we can provide so they can get biblical teaching and understanding and things that would encourage them to know Christ at an earlier age. To be honest with you, the earlier is always better.
Yeah.
Yeah,
of
I
course.
know some people are like, well, I don't remember when I was saved, but I know, and I'm like, okay. But I also know that, like, my son Nathan, he, I would go share somewhere and do, and speak, and people would come up, and I see my son walk up and accept Jesus for like the 5th time, and I'm like, what's going on here? And I remember talking to Pastor Joe about that. And I'm like, hey, he's like, what's the problem? And I was like, it's kind of embarrassing. You're sharing, and your son comes up he was like, forget about it. Don't worry about yourself. It ain't about you. So he was like, let that boy go up there as much.
He's just trying to break the ice for everyone else.
Yeah, he was like,
yeah.
he was like, let him go up there until it's like, hey, I don't have to come up anymore.
Yeah.
And so, anyways, thank the Lord that all my kids are in a personal relationship with Him for themselves, not for Dad.
Sure.
And are doing well right now, walking their walk. And
How many kids do you have?
yeah, so I have 4 biological kids, and then we have one ministry kid that we claim that is ours, and then my niece Luna, who lives with us. So Bryce Williams is our ministry son that God's given us, and he's in the Navy overseas right now
Oh,
serving.
good for him.
That's probably why Dan likes me
That's
better.
probably, yeah.
So. My oldest daughter is Mariah, and she just graduated a couple years ago working at the Cleveland Clinic. My son Nathan just graduated from Cleveland State, and then my daughter Mia is at Cleveland State doing nursing right now, and then my son Noah just graduated from high school. So we're excited about him going to Cleveland State and following his computer engineering career.
Awesome.
And Luna, who just turned 12, she's my niece. She's been with us since she was 3, and we're just one big family, and we get on each other's nerves once in a while, but
Family.
but we're family.
Yep.
So yeah, that's our kids. My wife loves us enough that she still feeds us and
That's-
cares for us, and no, she's a great woman. They always call her Saint Liz, because dealing with me has been a miracle.
That's funny. But most of probably our people, obviously suburbs, share a little bit about perhaps the dynamic that these kids, the typical kids that are coming into your ministry, and how that might be different from maybe the kids that are in North Olmsted, Ridgeville, or something. My guess is there's probably a lot of parallel.
Oh yeah.
Sometimes. But what are you seeing in the kids that you're able to minister to?
Right. Well, most of our kids are in single family homes. So it's either, and it's surprisingly, the number is getting larger for single men who are raising their children. It's not as high as single women, as single mothers, but the number's starting to grow a little bit, where we see mothers like, well, I never wanted this child in the first place, so you take care of them, and we're starting to see an increase in that number. But our kids, it's like any other family. Brokenness is brokenness. Sin doesn't discriminate, right? So, we mainly see kids who are just looking for affirmation, a safe place to be while mom's working, but affirmation, a place to know that they are loved. We always used to joke that our clubs or our outreaches should be like Cheers, where everybody knows your name. Yeah, names are important, right? And even though the older I get, it seems like the harder it is for me to pick up names, but names are important, and so for our kids just to be loved, to be accepted for who they are, and where they're at. But we always say, look, this is open to anybody. Doesn't matter what race you are. It doesn't matter what socioeconomic status you're in. Doesn't matter what you think your gender is. Some of those hot topic buttons. Yeah. We know that we're called to love you and that you're an image bearer of God. And because you bear his image, we're called to love you and to show you what it is to know him for yourself. We want you to have this relationship with him. But even if you decide not to, everything's still open.
Still going to love you.
Yeah, you're still there to be part of everything. You're still able to, eat, go on the outings, do everything. But there are going to be some times where, we're not ashamed of who we are. We're not going to step back and not share the gospel because it offends you. The gospel is offensive. We know that because it's the truth of God, right? And it tends to pierce you in ways that no matter what other people's judgment can do, it's in a way where you have to handle the business. Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't just really run from it. Well, you can, but eventually you're going to get caught anyway. Yeah. So our kids understand that, and they know, like, hey, be respectful. Even if you don't want to hear it, be respectful. But
because who knows? You continue to allow them to let you love them.
Yeah.
Because who knows when, where, and how God could. The seeds that you're planting may not take root for 20, 30 years from now.
Yeah.
And why be the ones to be like, no, we're going to stop planting because for any number of reasons.
Yeah. And I have a unique perspective just because I was an inner city kid who was reached by that same ministry, who my leaders would tell you after when I was in my 20s and I came on staff, they were like, to be honest with you, we thought you were going to be either dead or incarcerated. We didn't really think that you were going to... but we were hopeful. Yeah. You know what I mean? And they didn't tell me that while they were doing this, but that was a struggle for them to say, maybe it's a waste of time. But we know that nothing, God's word doesn't come back void. That what we're doing doesn't come back void. That there's going to be seeds that are going to be, harvested later in their labor, and that's what happens. So like being able to, when I first started in my late 20s, I was 27 when I came on staff. They would look across the table and I'm like, it's just so weird. Like, it's so weird that this punk kid is on staff and I'm listening to him and he makes sense that we need to make those changes. And I'm like, well, thanks.
You haven't locked any of them out in the hallway, have you?
No, not yet. I've given them enough hard times that I'm like, well, you hired me. So funny. Anyways, but yeah, so it's really cool. And now doing this for 18 plus years through the church and through Youth for Christ. I'm 16 years in it with Youth for Christ. I'm starting to see kids that I started reaching who are now with kids who are 6, 7 years old. And then they're coming back or they've coming back from incarceration or whatever. And they're like, I just had a student, well, he's a grown man now, but he just beat a murder case that he was falsely accused for. And I was following his case pretty closely, and I saw him at the mall. And he said, "I want to come back. I want to coach basketball. I want to do this. I want to, And I'm like, great, but let's start with the basics.
Yeah,
right.
I love the hunger. I love the desire. but we gotta start with the basics. Let's set up a time to talk, and do this, because one of their own coming back to reach, that's huge. You know what I mean? But then we also have individuals like Andreas and Brad Sutton, who's a senior pastor out in Denver, who has made phenomenal change and momentum in young people's lives, because who's this white guy and why is he why should I trust him? And then they
From
do.
Pittsburgh.
Right. Well, that's a whole nother.
We don't
Yeah.
tell
That's a whole nother show. That's a
I
whole
don't
nother
think
show.
he's told any of them that.
I haven't told anybody that,
Yeah.
but I mean, like, just to say,
I hope
man,
they're not listening.
Yeah.
Just
Just say-
undercut everything you.
yeah, just to say that someone like him is willing to make an investment in me and has my best in mind, and not trying to like use me or make me their poster child. Or so it's pretty cool to be able to see that and
Yeah.
kind of see that full circle with these now adults with kids and stuff.
And longevity.
Yep.
Yeah, longevity.
Longevity allows you to see that
Yeah,
and allows you to be there for him however many years later.
yeah.
You know, he has someone that he trusts already that he can come back to.
Also allows me to be able to handle issues in the community a different way, because it's something that's trusted, and
Yeah.
I have the relationship, and I'm like, hey, this one needs to be out of the gang. Let's go.
Yeah.
Like, it shouldn't have never been approached. None of them should be, but like, help me save this one,
Sure.
even if you feel trapped. So it's an easier conversation now than when I first got started.
Yeah.
Right.
So anyways,
Yeah.
so yeah.
What excites you? Maybe kind of run with two of these things here. What's exciting you about your ministry right now?
Yeah.
And how do you see the adversary pushing against what you guys are doing?
Yeah. Well, I'm always excited about God's work. You know what I mean? Like, I'm always excited about what God is going to do through people, and I always tell people, like, don't ever think that God can't use you, even if you feel like I got to go clean myself up, or I got to go be less sinful, or I got to have a deeper prayer life. Like, yes, all those things are good and should, but like, God can use you right where you're at. Like, don't ever underestimate that. It takes that one step. You know what I mean? We don't want a hot mess.
Yeah.
But we want faithfulness, right? We want it to be faithful and let God do that process. But the thing that excites me a lot about ministry right now is that we're, for the first time, I mean, in 5 years, we decided to buy this building, which we've never owned property before, or a building or any brick and mortar, to really reach a community. And because we've done that for 5 years, and my executive director and the board was like, look, we feel like God is all in this. We feel like we have the right guy to help us with this on the ground level. Let's do it. And then we've had some really great successes with it. And now that we're 5 years into it, like, we are, we have the green light, the go light to go to the east side. We were on the east side for a while, but now we're targeting 3 different neighborhoods, which is in Collinwood, Huff, and in Glenville. So we're looking at those 3 neighborhoods to get something going. And then we're looking at the Cadell neighborhood on the west side of Cleveland, if one of the other neighborhoods don't work out. So we want to go into 3 neighborhoods this year. So we're looking for staff, and we're looking for those indigenous leaders that are already doing God's work, and how can we come alongside them and give them a budget and give them some other training and be able to connect them with the bigger body of Christ. Because Pastor Joe used to tell me, and he still says it to this day, he's like, you need both the up and outers and the down and outers. It doesn't matter what side of the track that you're on. We need both. And like, I couldn't do this without Andreas or Dan or other people like that. Like, my kids need to see people that are not Johnny.
Yeah.
So when society says, this is how they think about you, or this is how they feel about you, you have people who break that stereotype.
Sure.
And don't treat you like a stereotype. So for me, that's exciting to see God growing the ministry and seeing God do that with sincere people and leaders in churches from inner city and suburbs and rural America to really come together and be the body of Christ that I see is a beautiful thing. The way I see the adversary coming against that is, it's just, we always got to keep our attitudes in check. So, not getting a big head as we grow, and, looking at, as we grow, there's other leadership opportunities, and making sure that we don't get ahead of ourselves, because we felt like, hey, I'm a big believer that if you've been here for 4 years, yeah, well, apply for the new role if it's a new leadership role. But I'm also big on, like, if God brings someone brand new that's raw, like, maybe that's the direction we need to go. But, for us, that's one. But the other one is, with the pandemic, a lot of our kids who are dealing with these either self-destructive issues or issues that no young person should have to go through, or adult through when they're not even adults. As the pandemic starts to not come to an end, but like we're starting to see people open up and things open up and roll out. A lot of the Facebook or Twitter and all this other stuff that you hear them going back and forth, where they're, it's divisive, where you have these big cliques who are now broken up into smaller groups. And they're like, if I see you at the mall, if I see you here, if I see you there, it's on, da da da. So, we're looking at maybe having one of the most violent summers that we've ever had, because people have been sitting dormant and brewing over things. Could be anywhere from just feeling disrespected to, a broken up relationship. Now they're with their old girlfriend and, whatever. It's nothing new under the sun, right? But how do we engage those individuals, even though they're 16, 17, 18, 19 years old? I mean, they're making adult decisions, and they can make a decision. Like, even like when I talk to kids like who are feeling depressed, like, the thought of committing suicide, it's a permanent answer for a temporary issue. Yeah. And like a lot of our kids are getting trapped in making permanent decisions for their life, and things that are just temporary, things that are not going to matter or don't really matter to the majority.
Sure.
And just saying, don't get caught in those sins, don't get caught in all that hype, and let me be able to help you, or let the staff help you walk away from some of those things without losing face. So those are some of the things and always resources.
Yeah.
I mean, I want to be the guy who says, oh, we're always, if we had $1 million, well, as soon as you use the $1 million, you need another $1 million, right? Yeah. So, so guys in ministry, you know what I mean? And like, you guys get that. So, but yeah, I mean, finances are always one of them. But people, I would say, what finances can't do, people can do some amazing things if they just show up and say, let me be used by the Lord, not be used and abused, but really used. Sure. And
so along those lines, what are ways that people at our church can serve, volunteer, be an encouragement? Yeah. Are there ways other than just maybe individual things, for a church as corporately? Are there things, what are ways that we can come alongside and be an encouragement and serve and help you guys see life?
So always prayer, we could always, be praying for us. Some of the prayers that we have right now, just being able to have a successful summer of just being able to refocus and be able to come alongside our schools and our community in the fall, and being able to do that in the most profitable way for the kingdom, and for those that we're serving, those 11 and 19-year-olds in our community in the Clark Folk neighborhood. The other one is volunteering. We are always looking for volunteers to help clean, or to help teach, or to help with sports, to help with, like even what we're doing today with this podcast. Like, how cool would it be if we could do a podcast between, kids that are not from the inner city and kids that are, and pull them together and do a podcast and say, let's hear from all parties, and just see how things that we're talking about are affecting them
Yeah.
and what they want. You know what I mean?
Put it down.
Yeah, so I mean, like
That'd be
this,
awesome.
this would be awesome. You know what I mean? And if we walked in and the kids saw this, they'd be like, "What?" You know what I mean? Like is Jay-Z showing up?
That's
No,
right.
no, just Johnny. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry, the other Jay.
But we always have beautification projects we're trying to do. We do have seniors in our community that don't always have the ability to take care of their property. So we're always looking for people to come down with us and just care for our seniors or people who are, physically handicapped that can't do that. A meal, hey, we'll cook a meal. It's usually about somewhere between 50 to 70 people, or just sponsor one. When we go to camps and do other functions, like I shared my story, I really couldn't afford it. So we're always looking for opportunities for kids to earn their trip. So like, hey, I'll scholarship 3 or 4 kids to camp or to that event or whatever it is. And we give you guys the cost of that and then say, hey, all right. And then they have to earn it either through working it off at the center or coming out and doing some work at that person's house or whatever with an adult leader. So those are just some ways that you can get involved. The on-ramp for that would be is go to our Greater Cleveland Youth for Christ website and just read over the ministries. I'm not here just pushing the City Life Center and what we do, but we have other core ministries. Like I said, Campus Life, Juvenile Justice Ministry, better known as JJM, City Life, and then we also have the Grace Haven program. So maybe somebody wants to, mentor a girl that is trying to get out of the sex trafficking, and just care for them. You know what I mean? So those are a couple easy ways to find out how to get engaged.
What was that website again?
It's Greater Cleveland Youth for Christ. If you just type up Greater Cleveland Youth for Christ, it'll come up, and then you can go from there.
I think it's YFC Cleveland.
Yeah,
.org, right?
What?
YFC Cleveland.
Yeah, YFCCleveland.org. Or you can call Jamie or Aaron at the City Life Center, and they'd be happy to talk to you and show you around. So we also do tours. You can always set up a time to come down and do a tour and walk through the City Life Center and kind of hear the mission and what's going on. A lot of times our teens are part of those tours, so the teens share their testimony and how they engage and how they lead there, but also how they either accepted Christ or in the process of learning what it is to know Jesus for themselves. Because we even have kids who haven't said yes to Jesus. We have them share as well, because it's good for people to see like it's a process to really put your full trust into Him versus a program or initiative or just because we like Andreas, I got to get saved so he won't quit hanging out with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right,
So,
right.
Sure.
So anyways.
Yeah. Any other questions from you guys?
Yeah, I have a question. I know I've talked to you about this. You talked about how you've used, I think, a Justin Bieber song to share the gospel in a manner. But when you're talking with a student, how do you incorporate the gospel into a conversation? And,
Yeah.
yeah.
So I
think it was Justin
No.
Bieber. I forget.
it was.
Okay,
He's
I just
you saw that.
no. So,
Oh, you remember that? You
No.
gonna bring that up right now?
but no, it's fine. Hey, look, I'm a Justin Bieber fan. So
Yeah.
real quick, and then we'll get off of this. But so when 2011, 2012, somewhere in there, I think it was around the Christmas time. My daughter Mia, my second oldest daughter, she is a huge Justin Bieber fan, right? And I played a prank on her about how she's been spending all this time with this boy. She's in middle school, like 8th grade. And I was like, we got to talk about it. And the whole family was there. And we figured we'd talk about it now. And so she's like terrified, right? And my mother-in-law, she was like all like, yeah, da-da-da. So everybody was bought into it. And I gave her Justin Bieber tickets, right? And she started crying and she was all happy and stuff. But then afterwards, she's like, hey, Dad. Like, I was like, what's going on? She's like, can we really pray for Justin Bieber, though? She was like, I really feel like God wants him to, like, know Him. And I'm like, yeah, sure. And it was sincere, like
Yeah.
childlike faith, you know. And so ever since then, I've been a Justin Bieber fan, thanks to my daughter. Not because I'm a fan so much of his music, but I'm a fan of what I see God's doing in his life.
Yeah.
And man, what a great testimony to everybody that he's connected to about the power of God and knowing him for himself. Is he perfect? No. Do I know his faith like I know my friends here? No. But man, how great it is to see God moving in his life. And I've used it to point people towards. So, but really, being able to find things that are connectors to our young people. So, if it's about Jay-Z, I'll talk about Jay-Z, and I'll talk about, certain things like the Blueprint. Like he's got, Blueprint 1, 2, and, his daughter Blue Ivory, right? You know what I mean? Is part of that name is part of the Blueprint, right? And so I'm trying to find creative ways that they're interested in and say, well, here's a blueprint maybe you should think about. And then talking about how God has created a blueprint, for us and what life should look like and what it is to know him. Mm-hmm. Justin Bieber, his newest music, he put out an Easter album, and he's praying for everybody, your daughters, your sons, everyone. He's just understanding the power of prayer and what it means to know God for himself. Not that he's perfect, but I mean, if someone's a Beaver fan, I'm going to use that to be able to say, how do I connect that to the gospel? And how do I understand, and like how you've already made a personal relationship with this artist that you don't really know,
Right.
who doesn't even, you know what I mean? Like they've made these personal relationships with, local people who aren't in the best of situations and don't really have any care for them, but they do it because it's better to be known and loved for the things that you don't do well or bad, than to not be loved at all. I'm like, what does it look like to be loved for the good that you were created for and the good of what it knows to know God's full grace, not just his mercy, but his full grace, and what that is to sustain your life to be a long life follower of Jesus Christ. Like, that's huge. That is generational change right there.
Mm-hmm.
That's what changed our family. So, go.
Use Bieber.
Yeah.
That's great. No, we have a world full of people, things, and happenings
Yeah.
to just hook into, to bridge into the gospel and use what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, it's just relating, right?
Yep,
I
that's right.
We see that all through the parables. It's just, the Lord could come at them real hard and be like, woman at the well, you're the sinner. You know what I mean? You're the adulteress. You're this, you're this. No, he related to her.
Yep.
And he gently restored her and said, until the place she's like, I want that water. And then when she got it, she went back and she was the catalyst to reach her people. The low of lows, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm good. I'm in good company to be able to say I'm one of the lows of lows that's reaching his neighborhood. So
What would you, along with that little statement there, how would you challenge the people at Grace from your time at the City Life Center, Youth Christ, your own story, and what would be one thing that you would want to communicate to them?
yeah, we have more in common than we have that separates us. That's the one thing I would want to communicate. I think it's fear. You know what I mean? Like, I think fear of the unknown. Like, when I talk to my kids in the neighborhood, like, I'm a person of color. I'm a young black kid, or I'm a young Hispanic kid, or Asian, or whatever. Like, will I be accepted if I go with you, Johnny, out to this church in the suburb? Just because Andreas is cool doesn't mean everybody else is, to be honest with you. Just because I know 3 or 4 of the kids that have been coming down with them doesn't mean everyone's going to accept me, because at a younger age, it's a little easier to kind of accept and make friends and stuff. The older you get, the harder it is sometimes, So I would say it's the same thing. Like, don't let fear get the best of you. Don't let the unknown get the best of you. I think we have a great opportunity here for those who are listening to be able to say, I have a safe place to be able to come down and learn what it is to serve in the inner city and make mistakes, but make mistakes that we can recover from. That we can, not only are we going to learn from them, but like I want to learn from those who are going to come down. There are skill sets and talents that everybody has that God's given them. And, no one of us can do it alone. That's why it's a body of believers, right? And there's skill sets and there's people who are gifted who are just sitting on them and just, in my mind, just squandering them away when God's saying, no, let's use them. First with this body, but also with those that we can reach out to as part of the whole body. You know what I mean? So I think that's the other thing. Like a lot of times people are afraid that, we might take their congregates away or move them or whatever. And that's not our goal. Our goal is to help unleash their faith, unleash their skill set to be able to not just bless their local church that they're attending, but the greater Cleveland area. You know what I mean? What does it look like for them to mentor one young lady or mentor a young man or be those foster grandparents or, foster family? I mean, just, we're all adopted co-heirs, right? Like when none of us have sonship like Christ, but we're all adopted because of what he did. What does that look like for us to do that with those kids and 11 to 19-year-olds that we're doing with, not just on the near west side of Cleveland, but hopefully in those other neighborhoods on the east side, and start breaking down some of the racial divide in a biblical way, being able to look at what real unity really looks like, to be able to, really glorify God by allowing people to see what the kingdom of God's really going to look like with an array of people that just look different, but worship one God. So, that's the easiest. Just come down, no matter what the fear is. Come down, and if it means that we come up here first and do something simple here, and then come down, like whatever those steps are, let's do it. Like it doesn't have to be you got to come down first. We can come up first for those who need that, and then slowly build a relationship and work that out. So, because it's a we thing, it's not a you or us thing. It's a we thing, and like I said, we need both the up and outers and the down and outers. You decide where you fit in that. You could be downtown, but doesn't mean you're a down and outer. You could be an up and outer. There's some people who are living well in the city who are not doing anything, but just focused on themselves and playing the part. And God's called us to more than just playing the part.
Amen.
Go. Right.
That's right. Go. That's why I appreciate you taking the time. Getting to know you a little bit, and look forward to what we can be doing together in the future. Again, appreciate the opportunity given our people to come down and serve. And we like to finish with a few shotgun questions. And they're nothing deep. Could be controversial, but we'll see.
Not if you answer correctly.
That's right.
Well, you can't make me cry more than I've already have already.
All right,
so
sorry
for those of
about
you guys who can't see, maybe you can't, I don't know. But I'm already tearing up because of just, I'm a heart guy. So a heart guy, not a hard guy, but a heart guy.
Amen.
Favorite, where do you like to go? Where's your favorite ice cream place?
Mitchell's.
Favorite flavor at Mitchell's?
Butter pecan.
Okay.
That's a new one.
What's your favorite menu item at Chipotle?
Favorite menu item at Chipotle. Well, I'm picky when it comes to food, so I'm a little difficult. But I do a bowl with a tortilla on the side with pork and chicken.
All right.
So pork and chicken.
All right, you double it up. Favorite book outside of the Bible, or maybe we could ask you, what are you currently reading right now?
So favorite book outside of the Bible. I don't know if I have a favorite book, but I'm reading a book with my youth group and my sons and my son-in-law called Multiply by Francis Chan. It's been really good. So we're a little behind on a couple of chapters, but we're catching up with all the
pace.
we don't have to be done until the end of the year, so we're
perfect.
okay. We got some time. So. But it's been really rich just to be able to read that and kind of look at what it really takes to be, vertically aligned.
Yeah.
So that horizontally we're making the impact that isn't about us, but
Yep. That's a great
about
book.
him. So,
Favorite book of the Bible then?
favorite book of the Bible? Nehemiah is
Ah,
one of my
nice.
favorite books. I have more than one, but I would say
Of course.
Nehemiah
Yep.
because I kind of feel like I'm living in a modern day Nehemiah
Sure.
situation. So,
Your own city.
yeah.
Favorite movie? What movie can you watch over and over and over?
Remember the Titans.
All right. Who's your favorite person in the Bible, other than Nehemiah? Because
Well, that's my favorite book.
Other than Jesus.
Yeah. Well, so I like challenging people. So I would say Stephen.
all right.
Like we got to take care of people, and I'm not a back down kind of guy. So I've been stoned a couple of times verbally, but I'm still here.
Favorite restaurant to eat in Cleveland?
Favorite restaurant to eat in Cleveland?
I guess it could be not just city proper, but anywhere.
Restaurant. Okay. Wow, that's a hard one. I would say I would go with the one that we frequent the most. My favorite place to eat is in my kitchen because my wife cooks the best.
Listen to him.
So, like, see, I've had people from Puerto Rico because she's Puerto Rican and I'm mixed, but come and say, this is just as good or better than home. And so, but our go-to restaurant has been Applebee's.
all right.
Yeah.
Just
Applebee's.
simple and, just go. And
Yeah.
I like their wing sauce.
Yep.
So,
Yeah.
Perfect. What's your dream car?
dream car. Whoa. That's a good question because I'm actually looking for a new car. So.
All right.
Dream car. Wow. I don't really have a dream car.
Huh?
I just want a better car.
Something that gets you where you're going. That's right.
Sorry, I don't have a dream car.
It's all right. Your favorite vacation spot? Where would be your ideal vacation?
My favorite vacation spot has been Puerto Rico. Yeah, I'd say Puerto Rico.
All right. Favorite cartoon growing up?
Favorite Transformers.
Nice.
Quick.
G.I. Joe for
That
me.
was quick.
Transformers.
Real American Heroes.
I love G.I. Joe
I remember
too.
Transformers. I'd forgotten, honestly, about the cartoon growing up.
Yeah,
Nice.
I would watch it before I go to school. So.
What about your favorite cartoon right now?
My favorite cartoon right now?
Working with kids, you got to have.
Oh man, I don't. My sons are all into that anime,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I'll be honest with you.
No, thank you.
No, they're amazingly sharp. So I mean, no. My favorite cartoon now?
If you don't have one, that's all right. That was a throw on.
I don't know when the last time I watched cartoons. To be honest with you, I'll say G.I. Joe.
G.I. Joe. All right.
All right, there we
Very
go.
good.
I see what he did there.
Yeah. LeBron or Michael?
Michael.
Yes. All right.
People always ask me that. And I'm like, okay, LeBron, amazing, doing some amazing things. Not going to take it. Different era, different situation. Michael saved an industry. NBA would not exist without Michael Jordan.
There you go.
Wow.
Pretty powerful argument. All right.
And LeBron is capitalizing on the industry to do the best for people. And I love that.
Yeah.
So different
Yeah.
sets. You can't really compare them.
That's a good.
Starbucks or Dunkin'?
Starbucks.
Yeah.
Because I don't want my daughter Mia to come after me. Starbucks.
Michigan or Ohio State?
Michigan or Ohio State. Oh. I'm going to stand with Pastor Joe on this one, because he's a Michigan fan.
Good for him.
So I'm going to, in his honor,
He's a great guy.
because since I don't follow college football, in his honor, I'll say Michigan.
All right. Good for you. It's my
Michigan
favorite
State.
guest so far. Spring or fall?
Spring or fall? Fall is best.
All right.
Yeah, you got cool evenings,
Yeah.
campfires, less bugs.
Spring's got baseball,
That's true.
but I like all that with fall.
Yeah.
Cats or dogs?
Dogs.
Good for you. All right.
Yeah.
I don't
Did you
think-
even
have we
finish
had a
saying
cat guy
dogs?
yet?
No, we have not had a cat
No,
guy
we haven't
yet.
had a cat guy yet.
I don't think we will.
Dogs. I mean, cats have a lot more attitude and they can like
Yeah, they
self
do.
care a lot better. And they actually earn their keep by hunting.
True. No, I guess.
If you have that situation, or maybe your neighbor and they just like, I'll be back. I'm gonna go hunting. But dogs always, yeah. All dogs go to heaven.
There you go. Good. All right. Johnny, thank you, really.
Yeah,
for
thanks
joining
so
us.
much.
Appreciate your time, your honesty, your heart, and look forward to what God's going to do in the future here. This is great.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me, and
Absolutely.
hope those that are going to be listening will be blessed.
Yep. And get down to City Life Center.
Yeah, love to chat with them.
Great.
All right.
All right. God bless, and we'll see you next episode.
See you next time.
Yep. Thanks.